don't change like it used to. Who runs the roost around here? The coupe gone clear, got the heart from the base.
Released on December 4th, 2001, Nas's Ether may have lacked the violent overtones of other diss tracks like Tupac's Hit 'Em Up, but there could be no disputing its venom. A no-holds-barred effort taken from the album Stillmatic, it was Nas's comeback to Jay-Z's Takeover, released 3 months prior, in which Jay had blasted off a string of insults aimed at Nas. Ether was the boiling point of a row between the pair that had been simmering for several years. Before Ether's release, the pair had battled to become hip-hop's king in the wake of the deaths of Biggie and Tupac, who had been pivotal figures in the genre's coastal divide. Jay had gained the upper hand, both critically and commercially, and 1999 had seen Nas's crown slip with the perceived mediocrity of his albums I Am and Nostradamus. Ether represented a return to form and ushered in a period of great success for the rapper. Ironically, while most hip-hop quarrels in the 90s stemmed from geography, Nas and Jay-Z were both born in New York and experienced similar childhoods, largely raised by single mothers in impoverished areas. Both received critical acclaim for their debut albums, with Nas's Illmatic particularly lauded. Illmatic painted grim realities of urban inner-city decay, portrayed through Nas's evocative personal narratives. Nas's dexterous wordplay received praise, with his poetic style and deft rhyming drawing comparisons with Rakim. Despite trading in the harsh realities of gangster rap, Illmatic encompassed various stylings, blending hardcore and jazz effortlessly. The roots of the pair's dispute can be traced back to 1996, with Nas reportedly failing to show up to a recording session for Jay-Z's song Bring It On, which featured on his debut album Reasonable Doubt. In Nas's absence, producer Ski Beats sampled Nas's voice from Q-Tip's remix of his single The World Is Yours, which appeared on Jay's track Dead Presidents 2. While Jay's desire to work with Nas demonstrated his admiration for the rapper, he twisted it into an insult on Takeover. So yeah, I sampled your voice. You was using it wrong. You made it a hot line, I made it a hot song. Initially, the pair's feud was relatively low-key, and Nas's response was a thinly veiled insult on his mafioso-style track, The Message, released in 1996, where he lightly teased Jay over his choice of vehicle. Lex with TV sets the minimum. Jay had appeared in his Lexus in several of his videos at the time, and having just upgraded himself from a Lexus, Nas was playfully suggesting Jay was lagging. However, in an interview with Complex, he insisted it was nothing personal. It wasn't necessarily a shot at him, but because the song was a shot at everybody, he fell into that. Nas's desire to assert himself in an increasingly competitive market was slowly brewing the pair's rivalry. Prior to his death, Biggie had become something of a mentor for Jay, who was hit hard by his passing. Biggie's influence lingered over his sophomore album In My Lifetime Volume 1. However, many interpreted his braggadocious claims on his single The City Is Mine as a self-proclamation that he was hip-hop's newest king. The album once again saw him sample Nas's voice on Rap Game, Crack Game, while on the Origin album, Where I'm From, he acknowledged Nas's prowess while alluding to the competitive arguments that plagued hip-hop. Who is the best MCs? Biggie, Jay-Z, or Nas? Despite lacking a significant flashpoint, the pair's feud grew into the following years, with Jay's protege, Memphis Bleek, fanning the flames. It all started with Bleek's single, Memphis Bleek Is, which some considered an indirect diss to Nas as it bore a similarity to his single, Nas Is Like. Nas responded on Nostradamus, the album's lead single of the same name, with the track's opening lines perceived as a put-down on Bleek. You want a ball till you fall, I can help you with that. You want beef, I could let a slug melt in your hat. While Nas had suggested Bleek was a small fry, it provoked the most direct response in the feud up until that point, with Bleek mocking Nas's faltering status on his 2000 single, My Mind Right. You ain't hyped to die, but you hyped to shoot. Nas retaliated on his 2001 freestyle mixtape Stillmatic Freestyle, taking several shots at Jay and his label Rockefeller, referring to him as the fake king of New York, and suggested his street persona was built on lies. You master fabricated stories of streets. The battle lines had been drawn, and Jay dispensed with his puppet, Bleek, and in a freestyle at Hot 97 Summer Jam, he fired off a series of jabs at Nas and Mobb Deep's Prodigy. Jay would refine and expand upon these barbs on Takeover. Full of hyperbole and braggadocious statements about Rockefeller Records, Jay emphatically suggested on Takeover that Nas's career was finished. Went from nasty Nas to Esco's trash. Had a spark when you started, but now you're just garbage. Fell from top 10 to not mentioned at all. After years of brewing, the pair's rivalry reached a boiling point, and Nas's comeback was vehement. Aspiring producer Ron Browns constructed Ether's propelling, almost stuttering bass-heavy beats. Browns accompanied the beats with high-pitched string sounds, giving the track a suitably dramatic backdrop. He had reportedly shopped the backing track to Jay-Z's A&R manager, Kiambo Joshua, who turned it down and passed it on to Nas's travel agent through a mutual acquaintance. Ether begins with a series of gunshots, foreshadowing the shots Nas is about to fire off. Nas also added a distorted vocal sample of Tupac's track, Friends, at the start, echoing his sentiments unambiguously.
Jay-Z.
Nas named the track Ether because, in his words, "I was told a long time ago ghosts and spirits don't like the fumes from ether, and I just wanted to affect him with my weapon and get to his soul." A notion he alludes to explicitly on the chorus, "I with your soul like ether." Scoffs at Jay's self-professed status as rap's king, suggested he has already won the battle.
I prove you lost already. Brace yourself for the main event.
He introduces the first verse by telling listeners to brace yourself for the main event, suggesting all the sparring before was just a preamble, and declaring his superiority. Cleverly, Nas uses several of Jay's past lines against him. When reeling off a list of best rappers, who is the best? Pac, Nas, and Big. He deliberately omits Jay-Z, who had conceded Nas as one of the best on Where I'm From, and rubbishes his claims of being the king, telling him to come out of my throne. He also twists his taunts from Takeover, turning them into threats of his own. How could Nas be garbage? Semi-autos at your cartilage. Nas mixes his insults with broader musings on the state of hip-hop, believing it has become overly commercial, an insult often levied at both rappers. Nas doesn't express any coastal allegiance, believing all rap is equally bad. East, West, North, South, flossed out. Deriding the state of rap, Nas suggests that the whole system needs rebuilding in a line that could also be interpreted as a violent threat. I embrace y'all with napalm, blows up, no guts left, chest, face gone. Of course, in true gangster rap fashion, Nas is the exception to the rule. I got this lock since 91, I am the truest, name a rapper that I ain't influenced. Nas begins the second verse by referencing his perceived decline, which Jay had alluded to in Takeover. I've been f***ed over, left for dead, dissed and forgotten. He references the hypocritical nature of the industry, which is full of hangers-on and people who are only interested in money. Talk about me, laugh behind my back, but in my face, y'all some well-wishing, friendly acting, envy-hiding snakes. He then goes on the attack, swinging off a series of homophobic slurs against Jay, referring to the rapper as Z, his label as Rockefeller Records, and describing him as having sucking lips. The homophobic insults continue in the third verse, from the milder, put it together, I rock y'all rock fellas, to the nastier and more childish, you a riding. Nas finishes the second verse by pouring scorn on the hypocrisy of his hero-worshipping of Biggie and his boastful protestations that he was the best in the game. First, Biggie's your man, then you get the nerve to say that you're better than Big. Why don't you let the late great veteran live? Later in the track, Nas further questions the validity of Jay's claims of being the best, suggesting that he even got overshadowed on Renegade by Eminem. And Eminem murdered you on your own shit. The third verse forms a long tirade, with Nas dialing his insults up to another level, but he begins reflectively. What's sad is I love you cause you're my brother. You traded your soul for riches. Ruminating over their similar backgrounds, Nas laments how Jay sold out and suggests that if their argument hadn't escalated, they could have had a brotherly relationship. Well, life is harsh. Hug me, don't reject me, or make records to disrespect me, blatantly or indirectly. Nas also uses the verse to attack his authenticity as a warrior of the streets, questioning several of his claims on Takeover. Particularly, Jay had described his selling drugs in 1988, while mocking Prodigy for being a ballerina, but Nas suggests Jay wasn't as nefarious as he claimed. In '88, you was getting chased through your building. Nas also contests Jay's declaration on Takeover that he showed Nas his first tech, a type of semi-automatic pistol, suggesting Jay's whole persona is fake. Wearing jazz chains, no techs, no cash, no cars, no jail bars, jigga, no pies, no case. Nas also labels Jay a misogynist, an allegation built upon the subject material of Jay's previous hits, especially Money, Cash, Hoes, and Big Pimpin'. Nas suggests that rather than tackling serious topics, Jay spouts misogynistic hyperbole while simultaneously making fun of his looks. You seem to only be concerned with dissing women. Were you abused as a child, scared to smile? They called you ugly? Nas goes further, implying that Jay's breakthrough single, Ain't No only achieved success thanks to the contribution of Foxy Brown, and that Jay only secured her services through sexual favors. Foxy got you hot because you kept your face in her puss. Nas finishes off by reconfiguring the chorus of Takeover, especially Jay's repetition of
ROC, we running this rap shit,
and turning it into a threat. ROC, get gunned up and clapped quick. JJ Evans, get gunned up and clapped quick. Your whole damn record label gunned up and clapped quick. A repeated theme of Ether is Nas utilizing Jay's own words against him, and while some of its claims may be unsubstantiated, it was mightily effective. Ether was regarded as a major turning point in the feud upon release, with the power shifting towards Nas. Fellow rapper Razkaz recalls hearing the song playing in a New York City club on the day of its release, and the rapturous response it received. The club was going up, and that's when I knew it was over. The streets had spoken. Even Memphis Bleak conceded to Ether's brilliance in a 2007 interview, stating, like, it was no denying that record was hot as fuck. It was a bunch of lies on that record, but it was still a hot record. Despite landing a significant blow, Ether didn't signify the end of the feud, which became further inflamed by radio station Hot 97's poll battle between Ether and Takeover. Nas's 58% majority further indicated he had won the war, but Jay wasn't about to lie down, and on his track Super Ugly, I Got Myself a Gun, he bragged of an affair with Carmen Bryan, the mother of Nas's daughter.
Me and the boy A.I. got more in common than just ballin' and rhyming, get it? More in common. I came in your Bentley backseat, seated in your Jeep, left condoms on your baby seat.
Such was the disrespect, Jay's mother, Gloria Carter, waded in, phoning into Hot 97 and demanding her son to apologize, which Jay did shortly after. Jay's perceived low blow saw the pair's dispute largely fizzle out, with some minor blows traded in the following years, until the pair publicly reconciled in 2005 at a sold-out Continental Airlines arena in New Jersey, performing Dead Presidents and The World Is Yours together. Beef squashed, the pair were quickly in harness, with Nas signing to Jay's Def Jam recordings in 2006, and the duo collaborated on the track Black Republican that same year. While the pair's feud may be distant history, the legacy of Ether lingers today. Such was its influence. It even spawned the slang verb ether, which means to dismantle someone in a rap battle. Ether has been sampled numerous times by other rappers seeking to channel its power into their diss tracks. Remy Ma famously used the instrumental on her 2017 track Sheether, aimed at Nicki Minaj. Alongside Hit 'Em Up, Ether is regarded as the greatest diss track of all time, although rapper Kendrick Lamar suggested in a 2011 interview that its popularity primarily stemmed from Nas's status as the underdog in the feud. Regardless, Ether is a landmark moment in the history of hip-hop and a memorable moment in the careers of two of the finest rappers to grace the game.